This week's parasha is a very relevant parasha, especially to our current times. We see two nations that have been enemies for a long time decide to team up because of the Jewish people. Because of their common hate for the Jewish people, they decide to team up and go against us. And again, we see this all the time, especially now when we speak about Iran and Hamas. Everyone knows that there's 1,400 years of conflict between two Muslim groups, the Sunni and the Shia. And over here comes Iran, and they're helping Hamas, which was an enemy. Again, anyone that does a little bit of research knows how much suicide bombings and how much there was animosity between these two groups. But what happens? The Jewish people come to Eretz Israel, and now all of a sudden they start to team up, right? So we know, the Gemara tells us that one of the reasons that Har Sinai is called Sinai is milashon sin'ah. Everything in Hebrew has its depths. So the word sin'ah is very similar to the word Sinai. And the Gemara says that on the day when HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose the Jewish people, sin'ah came down to the world. It's something that can't be explained. Subconsciously, the nations of the world do not like the fact that we are the chosen nation. And that is the only way to explain what we see today and what we've seen then and what we see throughout history. Groups, right? Just think about how absurd it is. You're walking around campuses, all these LBTJ, all these groups, that if they would have stepped 1 second into Gaza, they would get their heads cut off, but they're willing to wave those flags. The Gemara says, it's very clear, it's a subconscious thing. When you feel inferior to somebody, you want to fight them. You have hatred. Sin'ah yarda la'olam, says the Gemara. Now, to understand this a little bit better, we're going to go into our parasha and trying to understand the nitty-gritties. So, in last week's parasha, we have this huge giant named Og Melech HaBashan that gets taken down by Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu takes the axe, hits him in the ankle. We're talking about, again, a giant that we don't even have people that we can imagine at what heights they were nowadays. Moshe Rabbeinu himself was 10 meters tall, and he jumps and just hits his ankle. Now, the Mefarshim teach us that all the nations around were paying taxes to Og and Sichon, these two nations that last week were defeated. So now we have this nation called Moab. Moab basically was a relative of ours from Avraham Avinu, and they want to go to war with us. We have a commandment not to touch them, but they're scared. They get scared, they see what we did, and they decide that they're going to call in the Secret Service. Who was their Secret Service? They did their research, and they said, if you want to defeat a nation, you got to figure out who's the leader. You got to attack at the top tier. And they go and they do their research. They know that Moshe Rabbeinu lived 40 years in Mitzrayim. Well, Mitzrayim doesn't exist anymore, so you can't go there to get anything. And 40 years in Midian. And they decide to take the leader, one of the 5 princes of Midian. His name was Balak. The Zohar tells us that he was a sorcerer. He had a bird that would tell him all kinds of information. He had this bird, and when he asked about the Jewish people, he asked what about Am Yisrael, the wings of this bird went on fire. So Balak got very, very scared. But he knew one thing. This guy, Moshe Rabbeinu, his power, we see him walking around for 40 years. This guy's always walking around and praying. And when he asks for things, God answers him. Kocho bepiv. Hakol kol Yaakov. Pasuk tells us that the Jewish people, our strength has always been in our speech. When Yaakov Avinu tells Yosef on his deathbed, the way he defeated Shechem, he said, Becharbi ubekashti. What does Unkulu say? In my prayers and in my Torah. Right? So it's something that's a little bit mystical. But we as a Jewish nation throughout history, 3,337 years, have believed in the koach of the Torah. We have believed in the koach of tefillah. We understand that we're not coming here tonight just to have some dinner or to get some entertainment. My brother's pretty funny. I'm not that funny. But it's not what it's about. We understand that right now when we're sitting in a Bet Knesset and we're listening to the parasha, we're listening to Divrei Torah, we're doing something. Something is going on. Some sort of energy is being infused into the world. And that was what Balak told Moab. He told him, listen, these are not natural people. You cannot beat them through statistics. You cannot beat them through a powerful army. You have to have something above the average. And Balak had an old friend named Bilam. So again, the Zohar is telling us that Balak is the most powerful sorcerer in the history of mankind. Who is Bilam? Bilam was the most powerful prophet. The Gemara says that he was on a higher level than Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom. So Moshe Rabbeinu is the greatest prophet in the Jewish people, and Bilam was the greatest prophet for the Umot HaOlam. And they bring this guy Bilam, and they ask him, they said, what could we do? Bilam had one trick up his sleeves. Nobody knew what his trick was. Anyone know what the Gemara says in Masechet Brachot? There was one moment in the day, one split second, that if you curse someone, then the curse comes true. And that's what the Gemara says, that lo shelo tiyeh barkat idiot kala beinecha velo shelo tiyeh klalat idiot kala beinecha, which means in English that if somebody simple gives you a blessing, don't take it for granted. And the same applies to a curse, because you don't know what's going on in the heavens. It could be that he caught that exact second that Sharei Shamayim, it's Et Ratzon, are opened up. But Bilam knew this moment, and he said, no problem. You give me the amount of money that I want, and I'll take care of the Jewish people. They actually thought that they could do it. And there was a whole back and forth. That's what the whole parasha speaks about. But one of the solid questions that we need to ask on the parasha is, why on earth does HaKadosh Baruch Hu give us a parasha in the Torah that almost completely doesn't even speak about the Jewish people? The whole parasha is speaking about, it's like the camera just kind of zooms in to these two, wicked people, this wicked prophet and this wicked sorcerer that are trying to kill us. But what is the parasha supposed to teach us? This exact lesson that we need today more than ever. That it does not matter. We could be sitting in our houses, we could be enjoying our lives, disconnected from everything that's going on. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is protecting us. We're constantly protected, even if we don't even know what's going on. And that's what happened in this whole week's parasha. It's like the camera kind of goes off to the other nation, and the Jewish people are just living their lives. And they don't know that there's a person standing on the mountain that knows the exact second that God brings the curses to the world that's cursing them. They're just going forward. But what happens? There's a certain point in the parasha where everything takes a twist. We know the pasuk, we're all familiar with the pasuk, Matovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael. A pasuk that we say when we enter the shul. Who said this pasuk? Bilam himself. The wicked prophet that tried to curse us and kill us and annihilate us for no reason, just because of his hate for us. We say the pasuk that he said when we enter the shul. Because the pasuk is not a blessing, even though he tried to curse and a blessing came out, but it's the reason why we're protected. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov. So we're going to try to explain this in two ways. Simple way, and I understand that we have a pretty serious group over here that we can get a little bit into deeper stuff. So in the simplest way, right, a message I think that's relevant to all of us is the Ohalim. When the Jewish people were in the Midbar, in the desert, they were in tents. And the way the tents were set up was that the entrances would not face each other. Why? Because nobody wanted to see what's new. Nobody wanted to see what someone else is doing. They did not want to put themselves in a situation where I'm looking at this guy's wife right now, right? She's walking out of her house. I'm fighting with my wife. And now I'm looking out, and this guy's his wife, and they're holding hands and frolicking around. That's not what they wanted. They wanted, we know that Yosef HaTzadik, the concept of Ayin Hara, the Gemara says that out of 100 people, there was a Rav walking around the graveyard, he said 100 people over here died, 99 of them, their death was because of evil eye. Evil eye. It's a lot of explanations what it means, but according to the Gemara, it's a very clear thing that there's a concept of Ayin Hara. Right? There's different solutions of how to deal with it. But the Gemara says in Masechet Brachot that about Yosef HaTzadik, Ayin shelo zanta b'ma she'ena shela lo yishlot bo ayin hara. What does that mean? An eye that does not want to enjoy what does not belong to him, ayin hara does not affect it. Meaning if a person's walking around all day, this guy got a new M6, there's an 8 series now? This guy M8, they're walking around with all day looking at people's cars, their wives, their situations on Instagram, on Facebook, on all the other social media stuff that they have nowadays. He doesn't know that vision, what he's looking at, what he's feeling is radiating some sort of energy. If it's positive, it's going to come back to him like a boomerang. But if it's negative, it goes two ways. Now, that's what he saw. That the Jewish people, Bilam, he knew that if I want to curse them, I have to see them. So he found a place where he could see all of them. But he said, I can't curse them because they're living their whole lives not to see each other. As our friend said, they're living b'tzniut. They don't want to see each other's business. Everybody's living their own lives. Everybody's in their own zone. Everybody's focusing on their own success, their own happiness in life. And that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants of us. We'll say another idea, a little bit deeper. According to the Ben Ish Chai, he says, Matovu ohalecha Yaakov is referring to a different pasuk. It's a hint. I'm not going to get into how the mathematics work. When you learn Torah a little bit more, I mean, you see these type of things. But there's a pasuk that says, Ma Hashem Elokecha Shu'el Mimach. And the Gemara learns, Ma'al tikra ma ela me'ah, 100, to tell us that Hashem wants a person to say 100 blessings a day. Where did this come from? King David. There was a curse. People were dying, 100 people a day. David HaMelech alav shalom made a decree that every single Jew has to say 100 blessings a day. So we know that throughout the week, we usually get them. If you're going to Shacharit, Mincha, Aravit, you're praying. There's a good chance that you're getting these 100 blessings on Shabbat with the meals and everything. That's one of the reasons that we do the Onik Shabbat. Anyhow, without getting into the halacha aspect, as important as it is, we have to understand that there's a bit of a complicated concept over here. David HaMelech sees 100 people a day are dying. There's a plague and he has no way to stop it. And for some reason in his mind, he says, you know what? If each Jew will say 100 blessings a day, it will cancel the plague. What's the connection? What's the relationship between the two? So we have to understand, when we say bracha, many people, it's sad, we didn't grow up religious, so we got at a later age to learn what it is to say a bracha. We know how powerful it is. But sometimes children that grow up with the Judaism, they are so used from the age of 5, 6, 7 to just say like open sesame, like I gotta mumble these words so I can put the food in my mouth. They do not understand that a bracha is a meditation. A bracha is a way to connect. A bracha is supposed to give you gratitude and it's supposed to give you awareness. And that's what David HaMelech knew. He knew that our protection, that's what Bilam saw. Our protection is because our awareness is very high. You look around the room, there's all kinds of people, look around the world, and you try to scan the frequency that every single person is on, you'll realize that not a lot of people are throughout the day thinking about spirituality. This guy all day is stressed out, my business, my money, my this, my that. When am I going to go out to the next party? When his head is not in the right place at all. So he puts on tefillin in the morning, even that he does quickly, and then for 1 second he has that, okay, I'm connected. But the 100 blessings a day is the frequency a Jew is supposed to be on. What is a bracha? A bracha is Baruch Atah Hashem. You're saying, blessed are you, God, that has given me the water, that has given me my eyes, that has given me my feet, my legs. We're constantly blessing. The Jewish person starts his morning with the milah modeh. Why? For God? You think God needs something from us? No, for us. Because when you live with that gratitude, you live properly. Right? Anyone that's made that transition, right? Let me put things into perspective. Last week I spoke to a good friend of mine who's very, very big DJ in the world. We used to DJ together about 12 years ago. And, I'll share as much as I can share about our conversation. He said, listen, I grew up in Brooklyn. I've seen some religious people. I'm not inspired. I told him, me neither. I'm on the same page as you. It wasn't the people that, again, not to take away from anybody, but it wasn't the people that were walking around the streets with the hat and the beard and everything that caused us to make this transition. Because there's a concept called tinok shenishba. What does it mean, tinok shenishba? It means a child that grew up without the necessary information. So let me tell you guys a bit of a chidush. There's two types of tinokim shenishbu. There's two types of these children nowadays. One of them is a group of Jews that know nothing about Judaism. You speak to them about Judaism, they tell you, it's all politics, it's all about money, it's all about this. All religions are like that. They don't have an appreciation. But sadly, and this is where things got complicated, there's a second group that are religious. They're just doing copy and paste what they learned from their father, from their grandfather. They don't have that inspiration. They don't have that hitbonenut. They don't have that contemplation over what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. And I can tell you guys one thing. If you're on that level, you're going to realize that our soul, our Jewish soul, is the most powerful thing in the world. Do you know what? Mashal lema davar domeh. If we give a bit of an analogy to understand this. If you have two people that right now, they both inherited a gold mine. And one of them is, they're both kind of going into that gold mine. They're going inwards. They both got in about, let's say, 500 feet. Both of them are filthy rich. If they would go in 20 more miles, one of them would have had gold all the way through. 20 more miles of gold. This guy would have been the richest person on planet Earth. And the other guy doesn't have that. He has another 100 feet. So if you're standing in that place, you think they're both equivalently rich. But that's not true. That's what the Nefesh HaChaim teaches. The reason that we don't know what power we have as Jews is because we don't go that deep. We like to stay on the surface. We like to, give me something easy, give me something quick, give me something I could just move forward with. There's a reason for that. America, this country that we live in, there's a lot of gratitude we owe for this country, but there's also certain things that it instilled within us that are taking away our ability to connect. What is that? America, it's funny, everything in Hebrew has a depth to it. Even a person's name, Rav Maor. Maor is Or, gives light. Baruch Hashem, you guys, you see it in every single person. Even my name, Shenhab, Mishinuim, does changes. Even in our names. In English, you don't have that. In the Hebrew language, everything has a depth. Everything has its deeper message to it. America. Maze America? Am-rik. That's what it's about. You know what I'm saying? If you make this big, I don't think there's many people out there that did what I did, to be totally honest with you guys. I'm not taking credit for it, but because my parents speak Hebrew, I was able to go into an Israeli yeshiva and live with people that basically were disconnected from this culture. And it was insane. It was the craziest thing I've ever done. To go from a DJ MMA fighter, graduating from college, going right to this city of ultra-Orthodox Israelis that don't even know what I'm talking about. It was insane. It was. But you know what? I'm extreme. I like these type of experiences. And it definitely transformed me. And then when I came back here, and all of a sudden you get that smack in the face, you could see the emptiness. And I think that one of the messages, and I think we'll finish off with this point in the parasha, the Gemara in Masechet Makot learns out, בדרך שאדם רוצה ללכת, בה מוליכים אותו. What's מוליכים? מוליכים is plural. The way you want to go, that's the way they take you. Who's they? God calls all the shots. Says the Ben Ish Chai, that's referring to the angels. Because you guys probably all know the book The Secret and all these different books, manifesting your destiny and whatnot. Is there truth to that? Of course there's truth to that according to the Kabbalah. But it's based on this Gemara. The Gemara says that when you want something, you create angels and those angels guide you. So Bil'am was a fool. He had everything. He was rich. He had a good life and nobody was targeting him. But he couldn't overcome that jealousy and that hate. And therefore he pursued this attack on the Jewish people. He ended up in next week's parasha dying a very miserable death, right? And I think one of the main messages that we take from this parasha is people sometimes tend to live on this autopilot. Like, I'm stuck. You talk to people, Baruch Hashem, I have a good amount of students back in California and in Silicon Valley where we are, and you talk to the people, sometimes they open up, they share with you their stories. You see that the majority of people you speak to, they're in this loop where they kind of feel like they have no free choice, where their life has to be this way, as if the universe is bringing upon them this reality. And that's one of the main premises of Judaism. You have to decide. If a person doesn't sit and give, like Rabbi Nachman says, an hour, 10 minutes, 5 minutes of his time, and just is real with himself, right? That's what our leader, Moshe Rabbeinu, was all about, right? He was an ish emet. I know my brother's going to speak about this topic, so I'm just touching up on it. And again, we'll finish off just with this point of praise, that this new movement that we're seeing right now, right? There's a new movement. Let it be crystal clear to everybody. The Gemara says, En ben David ba, ela bedor shekulo hayav o kulo zakai. It means King David, Mashiach, is not coming to the world until their generation where everybody's on one side or the other side. Everybody's kulo chayav or kulo zakai. Now this doesn't make any sense. Which generation do you think will have where everybody's righteous, everybody's wicked? So I heard a chidush from my Rabbi Zemer Cohen. He said, it's not the meaning. The meaning is there's one or two sides. Kulo chayav or kulo zakai. Meaning for the past, who knows how many 100 years, there's been a middle. Now, everything is left or right. You look at this world, you see what's going on, it's left or right. And as we progress and come closer to the times of Mashiach, everybody's going to have to decide, are you getting on this train or that train? But the point that I'm emphasizing is this new movement that's going on, that we're living in right now, is not the old school Judaism in the ghettos, where people were just fighting to continue surviving being Jewish. It's the Judaism that's so inspirational, that's so fulfilling, that a person lives with Hashem 24/7. He brings him into his relationships with his wife, a wife with her husband, the children, the family life, the business, the career, the happiness, the psychology, the emotions. Every single part of your life becomes infused with godliness. You will live your life fulfilled. Right? And that's what we have to be focusing on. So with that being said, be zochet to get Harav Maor.
So obviously we know this week's parasha, Parashat Balak. My brother spoke about it. Just a little something, Niftoch Halev, to open up the hearts. There was once a husband and wife. They had a child, and they came to the rabbi on the day of the Brit Milah, and they were fighting between the names. So the wife comes to the rabbi. She says, "Rabbi, I want him to name after my father, Zichrono Livracha, who passed away." And the father comes and says, "I want him to name after my father, who passed away." So the rabbi tells the mom, "So what was your father's name?" Yosef. He says, "What was your father's name?" Yosef. It's not the same name. She says, "No, I want to name after my father. I want after my father, same exact name." So the rabbi says, "Why do you want to name after your father?" So the woman says, "Look, my dad was a big Talmid Chacham. He was a learning guy, a Torah scholar. His father was a loser, bum." She says, "Look what you're going to do. Name him Yosef. If he's a Torah scholar, he's named after your father. If he's a bum, he's named after your father. We solved the problem." But we see from over here that a person has to understand that the name that somebody has carries a lot of weight. Our brother was talking about it a little bit, but Chazal teach that a person has a little bit of Ruach HaKodesh, a little bit of divine prophecy from God in a way. When a child comes to the world, what name? So much so that when my daughter was born, my first child, when my daughter was born, right after my wife gave birth, she had like a dream or a vision with the name Hannah spelled out. Hannah spelled out. Okay, so what do? So we named our daughter Leah. Obviously, naturally, what are you going to do? You have to go But I'm saying at the end of the day, we see now, if you look at my daughter, you can tell she's a Leah. Not everything you have to look into and say, oh, maybe this is it. But what I'm saying at the end of the day is you have to see that a name has a lot of power. And this leads me to the question I want to focus in on. We get to Parashat Balak, this week's parasha. The Torah chooses to pick a name. What's the name for the parasha? Yeah? You would think maybe give it whatever you want, give it whatever name you want. Gives it a name after a Rasha, after a wicked person who wanted to annihilate the Jewish nation. The Gemara says you can't even use a wicked name, a wicked person's name, because a pasuk in Mishnah that says you have to wipe out his name from the world. The Gemara says, how do you wipe out his name? You don't ever use it. You completely make it repulsive in the world by not using it. How does the Torah come? Take a Rasha, take a wicked person, give him a parasha in his name. Give him a parasha in his name. Take the worst person in history who hated the Jews straight up. There was no doubt about it. Hated us, wanted to kill us, wanted to annihilate us. Says, Ine, let's call the parasha after him. What's going on over here? So obviously a lot of the Mefarshim come up on this. So there's a Gemara Masechet Sanhedrin that says that all the curses that Bilam, my brother spoke about, the Balak employed Bilam, the Zohar says they were a dynamic duo. That Balak knew all the practical of sorcery, he knew where, and Bilam knew what to say. So they made a little duo, a little pact between each other. They said, we're going to make a friendship over here, we're going to go and destroy the Jews together. Now what happened is, we see all the curses that Bilam wanted to curse us became blessings. Every single one of them, eternal blessings. Until today they bless us. So the Mefarshim explain why the Torah called Balak, because he brought these blessings to us. But who made the blessings? Bilam, not Balak. Who made the blessings? Bilam. So if anything, what should be the name of the title of the movie? What should be the title of the parasha? Bilam. Should be a billboard, Bilam with his donkey. Him over there and his wife, the donkey, sitting down, very nice. How come the parasha calls it Balak? You see from over here a clear proof that when a person facilitates another person to do something, it's as if he did it himself. The Igrot Moshe, the Rav Moshe Feinstein brings down Sanhedrin, that says that a person who entices another person to succumb to sin, and sometimes even when he doesn't get him to fall in certain cases, he could be liable to capital punishment. God forbid. Even when he doesn't get him to fall. So we see when a person entices another person to go sin, says, come, let's go quickly, let's go. Pasuk in the Torah. Let's go. Torah says about him, go take him out to the street, beat him up. Why? He didn't even get you to do it. He just tried to get you to do it. We see if the negative side is, someone tries to get you to go to the bad way and you go, look how much the Torah's Mashiv is, how much the Padas are. Balak, who led Bilam to give a blessing to the Jewish nation, and what did he intend for it to be? A curse. Hashem still gave him a reward. Why is that? There's a Gemara Masechet Pesachim that brings two verses in Tehillim. Ad shamayim chasdecha Ma'al shamayim chasdecha. One says, until the heavens is your mercy. And one says, above the heavens is your mercy. And one says, wait a minute, seemingly there's a contradiction between the two. He says, there's no contradiction. What's the answer? When a person does something, a mitzvah, not for its own sake, he doesn't do it for the mitzvah's sake, he does it for himself. For whatever other reason he does it, it's until the shamayim. He gets rewarded, but it's until. When he does it for its own sake, for the sake of the mitzvah, then it's above. Then it's an elevated level, then it's a higher level. However, the Gemara finishes and says, you see that a person still gets reward. There's a Gemara Masechet Tzonidin and Gemara Masechet Sotan that says, you see a person still gets reward when he's osek b'Torah, when he learns Torah, when he does mitzvot, even not for its own sake, for his own selfish reasons or whatever it may be, God still rewards him. How do you know? Balak gave 42 offerings to God to curse the Jews. 42 with negative intentions, and God gave him a blessing that his granddaughter was Ruth. Who's Ruth? The grandmother, great-grandmother of David HaMelech, all to end up being the Mashiach, Shlomo HaMelech, being the Beit HaMikdash. Why was he zocheh to get such great things? Why was he zocheh to get such great things? Because he enabled another person. When you enable another person to do something, when you call your friend, say, hey buddy, what are you doing Thursday night? Come to the shiur. And you bring him to shiur, guess what? You have the schar, the reward of his Torah. And not only that, not only get the schar for what he's sitting down tonight, you bring a friend, it's you and your friend, you get times two. Two for one special. You come for 45 minutes, you get 45 minutes, and his 45 minutes. Don't worry, it doesn't take away from your 45 minutes. If you're the friend, you also get the 45 minutes. You just don't get times two. So bring a friend. Eh? And you get his reward. And not only that, take a person who's completely far off, has nothing to do with Torah, nothing to do with anything, take him and bring him into religion. Everything that comes out of him, his children and children, you have a reward in that. You have a reward in that. Arki Dekach, there was a story of friends. There were two friends, grew up, like my brother said, in America, Amrek, empty country. They grew up not religious. One day, the guy he goes to shiur, gets inspired. The rabbi spoke nicely that week. He gave a few funny jokes. Kol tov yafeh. The guy liked it. Okay, come, we gotta go. It's gonna be pumping. Bring the boys. Let's go. He brought 5 friends one week. What happened? There was 5 of them. Good. The one who brought them all, he stopped coming. The other 3 stopped coming. But one guy that he brought was completely off the scene. He says, you know what? I actually enjoyed it. I'll keep on coming. He was the only one who kept on coming out of the 5. Good. He ended up getting inspired. He went to Israel. He went to Shiva. He learned in Shiva. He ended up learning very strong. He ended up becoming a big rabbi. And one day, he got a very prestigious position in a certain kehillah, community. And a lot of rabbis were inspired by this man. And many of the great tzaddikim of the generation came to see. And in the day when he went to go and do his acceptance speech of the position he gave me, he said, I want to go give a couple of words of Torah in front of everybody. And he came and he says, I just want to come up. The Torah asks of a person to have one thing. It's a very important klal in the Torah for a person to have akarat tov, appreciation. He says, one thing I have to say, and the guy who was sitting in the crowd, his old friend, he invited him. He said, the guy's selling cell phones and T-Mobile now. What do you want from me? He invites him to the crowd. He says, I want to say one thing. If it wasn't for this guy sitting in the back, I would never be here today. Everybody in the room started clapping for his friend. And he saw great people looking and clapping at him. And what does the guy do? He works in a T-Mobile store selling cell phones. But what did he do? One time, he called a friend and told him, Yalla, bo, let's have fun, this is that. And look what the Totzaot were. Look what the outcome was. Look how far it took him. You never know what your phone call will do, what your words will do, what your situation is going to do. One time you inspire a person's going through a downtime, he's fighting with something, he has something going on in his head. You come, you give him the proper words, you unite in him, you give him chidush, you give him something, you give him something to pick him up his morale. And now what happens to the guy? He gets up, he keeps on going, keeps on moving. Oh, I didn't do anything. What did you do? You inspired him. Guess what? Everything that comes from him now, from this action, you have a reward in it. That means you're going to get the Shamayim, there's going to be 17 mansions waiting for you. You're going to say, how did I get these mansions? I didn't do anything for these mansions. Oh, you remember that one guy, you called him one time on the phone, you gave him a text message, come to the shoot Thursday night. Oh yeah, he came because of you. And this is what came of him. Look how much you have up in Shalom Mama. What'd you do? A text message. A text message. Look how much you could be zocheh. You send out a shiur Torah, you click forward button, you can know how much you could be zocheh. Just to click forward, oh, YouTube video, shiur Torah, I don't know, Torah anytime, something, you like it? Oh, here it is, minute of inspiration, clip, boom, you click the word forward. Everyone who watched that video now, not only you get the 60 seconds they watched, if it inspires them to do something, you have reward in that. It's like holding a gem in your hand, that all it takes is one button, one word, one thing, and all you have to do is utilize it. All you have to do is utilize it. I know at one time my brother said, Arav Zamir, I heard it one time saying a shiur. I one time said there's a klal, one of the principles of Torah. It says there's an inyan called shomea ke'uneh. You know what shomea ke'uneh means? He listens as if he said it himself. If I'm saying a bracha, I want to say shakol in my mind. I want to say a blessing on water right now. And we're all sitting together. I say, you know what? I'm going to have shakol now. I'm going to have you in mind to take you out. You have in mind to come out with me. I say shakol. Everybody over here doesn't say a word. You listen to me attentively, word for word. You say amen. You drink. We're all yotzeh. We all came out of this bracha. Says Arav Zamir, when a person comes to Shiur Torah and he listens attentively to the speaker, shomea ke'oneh. It's as if he's the one standing up in the bima giving the shiur. I said to myself, what am I doing wasting my time? 7 hours preparing over here. I'm just going to start going to shiurim. Chaval al-azman. I have to sit down, prepare 7 hours. You come over here, listen attentively. You get the same reward as me. I got the bad end of the stick. Said that's all I take it. And you see what a person can do just by leading a person. That's one answer. One answer, how much ramification it holds. But listen to the second answer. Why? Arav Meir, bear with me for a moment. This city is a hard one. Mepri Mishlan was a city in Ukraine. He lived in the 1700s, one of the Rabbanim. He brings down a second answer. What's his answer? My brother said it so beautifully that we see that the Goyim, there's a klal in the Torah, Esav Sonel Yaakov, that the Goyim of the world, they don't like us. How do you know? You want a proof? October 7th, Makara after, all the riots, all the people you never expected. How many people after October 7th came to you and told you sorry? Huh? 1,200 people murdered. How many people afterwards? Your friends, I love him, I see him all the time, one my best friend. Did he come to you the next day and tell you, I'm so sorry, what happened to you? I remember that what happened, I was so upset for 2 weeks. How could it be somebody see something like this? He doesn't have to even know that. He doesn't have the ability to come and say, I'm sorry, I condemn something. No, I'm in public now. I don't know, this guy, maybe he's a... Allah, what's right is right. Go tell somebody sorry. 1,200 people passed away. I don't care which side of the equation you're on. You know why? Because every single one of them in their heart, doesn't like you. Says Arav Meir, who's your worst enemy? Hamas? At least you know they hate you. You stay away. Your worst enemy is the person who tells you he loves you and he really hates you. And he's just waiting for the moment to come and stab you in the back. Oh, in opportunity for coming against the Jews? What's Palestine Bichlal? Who even heard of it? Who knows the history? Who knows nothing? I'm going to the rallies. Lama lo. Opportunity to come out against the Jews. They hate us in their hearts, but they fake it. Says Arav Meir, you want to know why Hashem gave Balak the name of the parasha? Because he was Oyev Galui Vayadua. He was an enemy that was known and seen. He never faked it with us. I hate you. I want you to know I hate you. And I don't like you. And I'll never like you. And I hate you. I just don't like you. I'm telling you to your face, I don't like you. Not fake with you. Yeah, it's a come on, I like your face. No. To your face, tell you, I hate you. Don't come around me. I don't like you. Don't come around here. You smell, you stink, like that. Just leave. Go. Guy doesn't like you. Tell you straight to your face. I don't like you. Good. At least Torah is Mashiv ben Adam. It gives a praise to a person who's straight. Don't be fake. My brother said, today we're living in a world where there's coming the clear spit is no longer distinguishable. Or now it's becoming distinguishable. Now but we see people, it could be in politics, it's like that. But we see when it comes to a person's midot, when it comes to his character trait, when it comes to religion, we see sometimes you have this midah of like what we call in English, it's a real word, wishy-washy. Everyone remembers this word for me, wishy-washy. A person who's not yashan kol kach. He's crooked, he's akum. One day you see him, he's here. One day you see him, he's there. Yeah? You see him on Tuesday night, Baby Tuesdays, he's in the club, Wednesday morning in Minyan. He's here, there. Now what's the problem? You see this guy, he's never gonna move. Why? Because he's like this. He goes up, he goes down, he goes up, he goes down. He's always staying in the same plane. But not the same place. You see him 35 years later, the guy same thing. I'm living my life. Torah says it's the worst midah a person could have. Rivka, when she was pregnant, she felt a battle in her stomach. Rashi, right? What did she feel? That she felt the baby pushing when she passed the shul, the baby was, I want to get out. She passed the church, the baby wanted to get out. He went to idol worship, she wanted to get out. So what kind of confused baby is this? She went to be doresh the word of God. What does it mean, doresh the word of God? She went to go and ask in the yeshiva Shem Shel Eves, says Rashi, what's going on? He tells us, you have 2 nations in your stomach. She was consoled. Baruch Hashem. Two different babies. One wicked, right righteous. Oh, thank God, I can relax now. Woof. I just told you can have a wicked son, so wicked. He's Esav Rasha. Till today we're suffering from him. Till today we're suffering from him. No, I'm relaxed. Why? I'd rather have one righteous, one wicked, than to have one who's mebulbal. To have one who's not so clear. He's here, he's there, he comes, he goes, he's up, he's down. Lo there, ma'ishlo. We don't know what's going on with him. Achi garua. Torah says the best character trait a person can have is to be a person yashar. And why didn't they call it Bilam? Because what does Bilam say at the end of his life? Bilam at the end of his life, it says, "Tamut nafshi mot yesharim," and my soul should die the death of the yesharim. Says the Gemara Masechet Avodah Zarah, who the yesharim? Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. At the end of his life, this person who tried to curse us, he tried to curse us, hated us, doesn't like us, and then he's like, oh, I wish I had the merit to die like them. So we see a guy who's not so stressful. He's not here, he's there, one day this, one day that. Torah says the worst midah you can have. Even a rasha, a wicked person, Balak, he's straight, I give him a shebach. How much more so Hashem wants for you to be straight? How much more so Hashem wants you to be able to see things in the right mind, in the right clarity? What does Hashem want from us at the end of the day? Hashem wants a person to go and seek truth. Ad kidei kach, there's a pasuk in Malachim, Ve'igash Eliyahu el kol ha'am. That Eliyahu Navi came to the whole entire nation and he told them, until when are you going to stand on two different concepts? Two different opinions. Either if Hashem is God, go with him. And if the idol is the God, then go with the idol. Why are you here and there? The Malbim writes on this, how long are you going to continue to run away from Hashem, to go and chase after desires? And when things are bad, you come running to Hashem. When things are bad, oh no, I'm tough time now. Hashem, please, tatziloti, I need help, come, save me. Hashem gives you Yeshua, He saves you. The next day, okay, no, it was coincidence. No, ironic. I happened to be, I woke up in the morning, everything is good now, I'm back. No, where are we going tonight? Yalla, balos hami, ma kara po? 2 minutes ago, Hashem, please save me. Hashem come to save you, now what? That's what the Malbim writes. Kama chashuv, a person needs to be a sha'ar. A person needs to be unwavering in his belief. He sees something, he knows something, you cannot break the person. He doesn't care. And where do we see this the most? Listen to this. Last week's parasha, by the way, you should know, usually Chukat and Balak are read together. Last week's parasha, who passes away? Miriam. Gemara Masechet Tanit says, in Miriam, Aaron and Moshe, every single one of them came down to the Jewish nation something. Aaron, what did he bring down to the world? Aaron brought down to the world, and the clouds of glory. Moshe brought down the man, the heavenly, the food. And Miriam, Be'er Miriam, the water of Miriam, that followed them, a rock that followed them around and gave them water. When Miriam passed away, the water dried up, said to Midat Tanchuma, that it disappeared, they didn't know where to go. Hashem comes to Moshe Rabbeinu and tells him, I want you to go to the rock, and I want you to understand what's going on over here. The Midrash in Likutei Shimoni says that Moshe and Aaron were sitting down mourning their sister. The Midrash HaGadol says that the Jewish nation were distressed. They came to Moshe Rabbeinu when his sister just passed away. They came on him as a mob. Aaron sees them, he says, they're coming to console us. Look at these tzaddikim, look how righteous they are. They're coming to console us because our sister just passed away. Moshe takes one look at them and says, they're not coming to console us. He says, I could tell from this how disorderly they are. This is a mob. This is not coming to give. And as soon as they came in, going crazy, hello, Habibi, someone's wife, the sister just passed away. They were able to sneak away, the Midrash relates. They go to the entrance of the Oel Moed, they start praying to Hashem. Hashem gets upset with them. What are you guys mourning right now praying? Go get them water and then go back to mourning. Go get them water. They're starving. They're dying of thirst. Go to the rock and I want you to go and teach the rock Torah. And after you teach the Torah, I want you to tell it with the words. I want you to tell it to give water. The Rokeach says Hashem never performs the same miracle twice in the same way. Originally, after Kriyat Yam Suf, we hit the rock. Afterwards, Hashem says, speak to the rock. Why? So, Eshdat, the commentary, he says that it's according to the spiritual level of the Jewish nation. What does he say? He says, you see a clear proof in the Torah that the Jewish nation, their material blessing in the world is directly correlated with their spiritual level. What does he mean to say? He says, when we left Egypt the first time, we were like a little child. Our merits were low. So we needed to work harder. We need to hit the rock. But now after 40 years in the desert learning Torah, our spiritual level was higher. And all we had to do was speak to it. But of course, the Zohar says a fight broke out. The Jewish people wanted what they wanted. Says the Midrash, the Moshe Rabbeinu got a little bit upset with them. Tiny bit upset with them. Akash Baruch Hu is medagdek itom, and Aaron, so they got upset with them and rebuked them. What was their punishment? Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu ve'Aaron, for not believing in me, for not sanctifying my name, both of you are not going into Eretz Yisrael. You're no longer going into Eretz Yisrael. That's it. Shkach mizeh. You're not going in. What a punishment. What a punishment. So obviously, the Farshim bring down it was a pretext. Hashem was looking for an excuse according to the natural way, because he already knew that Moshe wasn't supposed to go into Eretz Yisrael for other reasons. I'm not going to get into that now. But of course, for his best. And what does Moshe Rabbeinu do the next day? Says the Midrash Bamidbar Rabbah, Tifer Tzion. He says, what does Moshe Rabbeinu do the next day? Imagine now that's you. Hashem says, by the way, when you finish leading these people, you're going to die. Good? When you finish, get them to the destination, yeah, you're the Uber driver. When you're going to get to the end of your drive, that's it. Itgadal ve'itgadash. It's over for you. I'm taking a left turn, a right turn, I'm going home, I'm never taking it there. Habibi with me the whole life. Moshe Rabbeinu wakes up the next day and leads them diligently as if he did the day before. You understand what I'm saying to you? And he tried to find them the fastest way to get there. The most direct route. What do you mean? You're leading yourself to your own death. Lo ikhpat li. I don't care. This is Amen. This is what Hashem wants. I'm going. Why? And God doesn't bring anything bad down into the world. When a person understands that, and he gets to that clarity, even though right now I didn't see it, I don't understand it, doesn't matter. I know that everything Hashem does is for my best. And says the Gemara, metoch lo lishma, ba lishma. When something you don't do it for its own sake. Right now I don't understand. Eventually, when you just by doing it, you're going to get the clarity to understand why it's so important, why it's right. This is Moshe Rabbeinu. He understood that. And look what Moshe Rabbeinu was. Hashem calls him the biggest praise. In my opinion, the biggest praise he ever called him, Moshe Avdi. Moshe, my servant. You know what it means to be called a servant by God? You know what that means? Hashem defends him, his own. Hashem comes down now. Imagine you get into a fight in the street and Hashem comes down to defend you. Hashem. Imagine that. I come up to you, oh brother, what's going on? All of a sudden you see Hashem. Oh my bad, brother. I didn't know you were well connected. What do you mean? Hashem himself comes down to defend Moshe Rabbeinu. What was the greatness of Moshe Rabbeinu? And this is what greatness is. This is what greatness is. A person who sees emet, seeks emet, looks for truth, finds it, and runs after it. Don't be a person who jumps here, there, finds it and runs after it. And if you take something, believe in it wholeheartedly and run after it, no matter how dire, no matter how drastic things seem, no matter how rachok things seem, in the end, you'll see the clarity. In the end, you'll see the emet. Now, I'll tell you guys a real story that happened, and I'll finish with this. A year ago, Mamash, I'll finish with this. A year ago, there was a train crash in India. And the name of the father, his name was Helaram Malik, Indian guy. His son, 24 years old, search this up, it's a real story. 24 years old, I'm not going to say his name, it's too hard for me to say. It's Biswajid. That's what it's, Biswajid, okay? That's his name. I had to look for it, okay? I wasn't sure if I was going to say it or not. His son, 24 years old, he gets a phone call that his son was riding a train called the Coromandel Express. He was riding a train that was in a three-way accident, train accident. 270 people passed away. 1,000 people were injured. He gets a phone call and tells him, your son didn't make it. The father says, I don't believe you. Gets up, calls an ambulance, tells his brother-in-law, come with me. They go 230 kilometers to the site. He goes all the way with an ambulance overnight. In 230 kilometers in an ambulance to go to the area where the accident was. He goes to every hospital in the area. Looking for a son, they don't find him. Now at this point he's tired, he's exhausted. He says, I don't care, I'm not giving up. Lo khbat, I don't care. My son is not dead. Someone happens to see him and says, look, I know you're looking for your son, he was in the accident. And they took a school right next to where the accident site was, and they made it like a makeshift fort where they're storing all the dead bodies. If you're looking for your son, and obviously he's not here, most likely he's there. The guy goes over there and he says, I have a hard time believing that my son is there, he's dead. But I'll go and I'll look. He gets over there, they deny him entry, you cannot come in. He's standing outside and all of a sudden a commotion breaks out because one person saw a hand in the pile of bodies moving. And they're screaming, it's moving! The father who happened to be there, now obviously the police and the paramedics, they assumed everybody was dead, they weren't going to do anything about it. The father who happens to be there sees the hand shaking and notices that it's his hand of his son. He jumps over the crowd, digs his son out of all dead bodies, finds him badly injured and unconscious, puts him in the ambulance. The whole time they're driving in the ambulance, he's unconscious. They bring him to the hospital and they save his life. He ended up being alive. It's a real story. You don't believe me? Go search it up. Mamash. It's a real story. I don't know. I can't make up these names. Biswajid. I can't make that up. You think I've seen the man? What's the name? Biswajid. Yeah. Why do they make that up? It's a real story. You see, when a person sees something, he sees it. 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 You cannot move this person. You cannot move him. I don't care what you're going to tell me. Sikuim, percentages. So that is, I don't care. I don't care. Emet. I see one thing. I'm straight. I'm not moving from here. I'm straight. This is the biggest shevach. Forget it. This is the biggest shevach. The biggest shevach a person could have. So I want you to be one thing. I want you to be straight. I want you to find the emet, and I want you to run after it. I want you to be yashar. I want you to be a person who just, boom, I see it, emet, I'm going. Don't be here and there, yashar. When you have that midah, another one. You have that midah, then you could be like Bisbajid. No. Then you could be like Moshe Rabbeinu. That Hashem came to defend him. Why? Because what did he say? Hashem, ani itcha b'esh u'mamayim. I'm with you in the water. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it sees. You emet, I go with you, whether I see it or not. And that's how we need to be. We need to be yesharim. We need to be straight. We need to run after Hashem everywhere we go. We will be zochet to be yesharim, to go with Hashem. Amen.